All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're taking a look at one of the most enduring 4,500-year-old enigmas of human history, the Great Pyramid of Giza. Standing out there in the scorching Egyptian desert, this monument has literally survived dust storms and the rise and fall of entire civilizations. But you know what's crazy? The faster our modern science and technology move forward, the deeper the mystery of this pyramid actually seems to get. So let's dive right into our central question for today. Was the Great Pyramid just a spectacularly massive royal cemetery, or was it an ancient, highly advanced power plant? Or maybe, as some pretty controversial theories suggest, a beacon connected to visitors from the stars? Throughout this explainer, we're going to impartially look at the hard evidence, the weird anomalies, and some of the wildest competing theories that are still baffling the greatest minds in modern engineering and archaeology. Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with the physical anomaly, then cover the royal tomb theory, explore the ancient power plant hypothesis, look into the extraterrestrial connection, and finally, we'll try unraveling the engineering mystery. Okay, Section 1, the physical anomaly. To really understand why there are so many wild theories out there, we first have to wrap our heads around the sheer, almost impossible scale of this monument. Just consider this staggering number for a second. 5.75 million tons. The whole structure is made up of roughly 2.3 million individual stones. We are talking about 5.5 million tons of limestone, 8,000 tons of granite, and 500,000 tons of mortar. And listen, these aren't just little bricks you can easily carry. These stones weigh anywhere from 2 tons to a massive 80 tons each. And the granite blocks? Some of the toughest stones on Earth, and they were brought from up to 800 kilometers away from Giza. All of this was done around 4,500 years ago, completely without modern cranes, heavy machinery, or advanced transport systems. No trucks, no trains, just human effort. To put that into perspective, let's look at a modern comparison. The Burj Khalifa in Dubai. It's the tallest building in the modern world, right? Well, its total weight is about 500,000 tons. That means the Great Pyramid of Giza is roughly 11 to 12 times heavier than the absolute tallest, most advanced skyscraper humanity has built today. And the crazy part? It was assembled with millimeter precision. And that precision extends to some truly mind-boggling architectural anomalies. The 4 walls of the pyramid are aligned to true north, south, east, and west with shocking accuracy. We're talking precision achieved thousands of years before the invention of the compass. Plus, the interior temperature of the pyramid remains a constant 20 degrees Celsius. It works like a natural air conditioning system, no matter how blisteringly hot the desert gets outside. Oh, and while it looks like it just has 4 sides, it actually has 8 subtly indented sides, which are perfectly visible from above during the solar equinox. It's feats like these that make researchers constantly question what ancient humans were actually capable of. Moving on to Section 2, the royal tomb theory. Let's ground ourselves for a minute and look at the orthodox archaeological consensus for why this massive structure was built in the first place. Mainstream history tells us the ancient Egyptians didn't just wake up one day and decide to build the Great Pyramid out of nowhere. There was a clear architectural evolution. They actually started with these rectangular stone tombs called mastabas. Then, around 2600 BC, an architect named Imhotep stacked 6 of these mastabas on top of each other for King Djoser, creating the very first step pyramid. Later on, King Sneferu experimented and created the first smooth, true pyramid. And that ultimately paved the way for King Khufu to build the Great Pyramid around 2560 BC. Basically, it was an escalating status symbol for their divine kings. And the location wasn't an accident either. It was deeply symbolic. The pyramid is built on a high limestone plateau on the west bank of the Nile River. See, ancient Egyptians viewed the solar cycle as intrinsically linked to life and death. The east, where the sun rises, was for the living, but the west, where the sun sets, that was the land of the dead. So they constructed these monumental tombs out west so the divine pharaohs could embark on their journey alongside the setting sun, taking all their immense wealth, food, and treasures with them to achieve immortality. But here is where the narrative takes a really sharp turn. When archaeologists finally decoded the hieroglyphics and broke deep inside the heavily sealed chambers of the Great Pyramid, they fully expected to find the mummified remains of Emperor Khufu, but instead, they found an empty stone coffin. Now, mainstream historians argue that it was completely looted thousands of years ago. Simple as that. But for many others, this missing mummy sparked a massive wave of alternative theories. Which brings us to Section 3, an ancient power plant? This is where things get really fascinating. Could this huge monument actually have been some sort of energy transmitter? Okay, so proponents of this controversial theory focus heavily on the granite inside the pyramid's chambers, which happens to be packed with quartz crystals. There's a real scientific phenomenon called the piezoelectric effect. Basically, it's the generation of an electric charge in certain materials, like quartz, when they are subjected to intense mechanical pressure. The theory posits that the millions of tons of pressure from the heavy pyramid pressing down on these quartz-rich granite blocks would naturally generate an electrical charge deep within the structure itself. Back in 1998, a British writer named Christopher Dunn really popularized this idea in his Giza power plant hypothesis. He claimed the pyramid actually functioned as a massive machine. According to his theory, the ancient structure utilized a chemical reaction that produced hydrogen gas, which was then combined with acoustic harmonic resonance that tuned the pyramid's internal chambers. All of this generated energy would then theoretically be channeled upward and transmitted outward into the atmosphere through a gold capstone or pyramidion that once sat at the very top of the monument. And this brilliantly illustrates how some researchers try to connect ancient mysteries to modern scientific ambition. Proponents of the power plant theory love to point out that the great scientist Nikola Tesla actually believed the Earth's natural electrical properties could be harnessed to transmit wireless electricity globally. It was a concept he famously tried to realize with his Wardenclyffe Tower. So, some researchers draw a direct comparison here, suggesting that ancient civilizations actually possessed a lost understanding of this terrestrial energy, and that they utilized the pyramid's specific geometry and geographic location to function exactly the way Tesla envisioned his towers would. It's a wild thought, right? All right, Section 4, the extraterrestrial connection. Let's briefly examine the fringe theories regarding potential alien involvement, because you can't talk about the pyramids without touching on this. Ancient astronaut theorists, which were largely popularized by writers like Erich von Däniken, argue that human beings 4,500 years ago simply lacked the math, the tools, and the celestial knowledge to build something like this, period. They point right back to the pyramid's seemingly impossible alignment with true north without the use of compasses. They also highlight the striking visual correlation between the three major pyramids of Giza and the stars of Orion's belt. Furthermore, they reference ancient carvings that allegedly depict space travelers and UFO-like shapes. So their theory suggests the pyramids were actually designed as massive navigation markers or communication beacons, built either with the help of or directly by advanced extraterrestrial visitors who were pinpointing Earth from space. Finally, Section 5, unraveling the engineering mystery. If we step back and accept the mainstream scientific view that human beings built this entirely on their own, we still have to answer the very real riddle: how on earth did they construct it? Well, scientists and engineers have proposed several competing hypotheses. The most widely accepted one is the external ramp theory, which suggests a massive slope of mud and brick was built outside the pyramid to simply drag the stones up. But a lot of experts argue an external ramp would need to be impossibly long to work. So, in the 2000s, French architect Jean-Pierre Houdin proposed the internal ramp theory. He suggested a winding path was actually built inside the pyramid's walls to move the stones up the top 2/3 of the structure. Others have even proposed a hydraulic lift system, suggesting the ancient Egyptians used trapped water pressure to literally float the massive stones upward. But wait, how did they even move these colossal 80-ton stones right across the flat desert sand to begin with? Because physics tells us that pulling heavy weights on dry sand just causes the sand to pile up and block movement. Well, the solution is actually incredibly elegant. Step 1, place the stone on a large wooden sled. Step 2, pour a very calculated amount of water on the sand directly ahead of the sled. Step 3, that wet sand becomes rigid, effectively creating a smooth track and drastically reducing the friction. Step 4, a team of workers can now pull that same massive stone using only half the required strength. And the crucial point here is that this isn't just some modern guess we came up with in a lab. We actually have physical, historical evidence for it. There's an ancient wall painting discovered in the tomb of Jehudi Hotep that vividly depicts exactly this process. If you look at the painting, dozens of workers are shown dragging a colossal statue on a wooden sledge. And right at the front, a single figure is depicting pouring liquid directly onto the sand in their path. It's a beautifully simple, incredibly smart, low-tech engineering solution that solves a massive piece of the transportation puzzle. Which brings us to the end of our journey today. We've looked at this stunning physical reality of these stones, the grounded historical timeline of royal tombs, the ingenious physics of wet sand, and of course, the incredibly captivating alternative theories of alien beacons and piezoelectric power plants. So I want to leave you with this question to ponder. Is the Great Pyramid of Giza the ultimate testament to unparalleled human willpower, organization, and low-tech ingenuity? Or do the mathematical and geographic anomalies suggest we are actually looking at evidence of a lost, highly advanced technology that history has simply forgotten? Let that thought linger. Until next time, keep exploring.